Hey everyone and welcome to ChetChat. I'm your host Chetna, and as you know, ChetChat is one of the largest career and education shows in India. And today we're talking about the AIIMS PG paper pattern. So the All India Institute of Medical Sciences has recently altered the pattern of the entrance exam for the PG exam. And they've now introduced 7 different types of questions, and we're going to request Dr. Akhil Monga, who scored a rank 12 in the All India Medical Exam entrance test, and he's also done a lot of research into these question paper patterns, and he's going to talk to you about the 7 types of questions, the strategies that you should be adopting to answer them, what you need to think about, the negative marking, the effect that it's going to have on your final result, and a lot more strategies and tips coming up.
Happy watching!
Hi friends, first thing I want to tell you everybody, especially those who are preparing for the main exam, May exam, try not to focus too much on all this. Just see the marking scheme, make sure that what you are going to attempt, what are the questions that you are going to focus on more, but still your preparation remains same. The major amount of questions that will be there will still be single best answer type of questions. The rest, this is just I think a pilot study right now, maybe 5-6 questions of each type would be coming. And most of them will be managed with and have been taught to you in some or the other manner previously also. There are very few questions or very 1 or 2 patterns that have not been asked ever before, either in your other exams or in your PMT pattern of AIIMS. These questions have been covered. So try not to get too distracted by all this. So I will give you a small recap of what has been changed, what are the things that I would suggest you to do, and give you a small example of each of these questions. So the first type of question that they have mentioned is the old one, the one that is constantly coming in the exam, is a single best answer, the traditional pattern of questions. So majority of the MCQs in July 2019 still seem to be coming as single best answer. One question, 4 options, and one of them is correct. You will get +1 for each correct answer, and you will get a negative of 1/3 for each wrong answer you get. The total number of questions would be, say, even if 150, 160, you have to go for as many questions you can attempt. Even if you can rule out 1 or 2 options, you have to go for the question. The averaging of the negative and positive would likely be on a higher side if you are prepared well. So the question would be a simple one, again, not something I would try to focus too much on. Say simple question: how many years of medical education is required for getting a post-graduation degree in India? So basically 5.5 years of your MBBS plus 3 years of post-grad, so around 8.5 years. Simple questions, simple answer. You mark this question as C. Again, the old rules apply. Be very careful, read all options, try to eliminate, try to get the right answer even if you are not sure. As long as possible, give a good attempt. Do not just see the first statement of the question, feel I have not read this topic and leave the topic. Go ahead, try it out. You might just be able to get the correct answer. Second question is multiple true false. You will have 5 statements, not just true, you have to tell whether it's false also. So it's just a more glorified version of online version of the PGI exam. PGI exam also gives you 5 statements. So 5 statements, A, B, C, D, E. And instead of just saying which of these are true and marking them in the OMR sheet, for each you will have to give a true or false kind of an answer. Something again that you have practiced. We usually would suggest doing these questions in the break between AIIMS and PGI and trying to get into the PGI mode, because in these questions you can't think too long. You know it, you go for it. If you don't know it, you leave it. Don't go ahead, don't try to guess this, because it's a negative 100%. It's not as if you're losing the entire mark if you don't attempt this question. You still get each option as a separate question. So a simple question that is there: what are the hurdles faced by medical students in India? The number of PG seats is more than the UG seats, so that would be a false. Then many seats getting filled through donations, backdrop entries, major problem for all of those who are studying day and night. So again, this is a true. Then third is match the following. This is something you've done from school times. This is not at all new. Very easy question. You just have to be very careful, look at each option and try to go for it. How it will be different is that each has been given as +4 and -1/4. Used to be previously coming would be there are 4 options you have to match, and then there is a option is given at the end that 1 is matched with 2, 2 is matched with 3 on the other column, or 3 is matched with A, and there are 4 combinations, you have to just pick the right one. So in that case, if this question was like that, you would have a +1 and again -1/3 or -1/4. Since they are giving a +1/4 and a -1/4, it would be like each option has to be marked with the correct option. The important thing is, again, you do not do the question you're not sure about. Go for the one you know, the one you do not know, you leave it. So +4, -1/4, equal negative. Do not go for something you are not sure about or you do not have an idea about. So this is an example. You have 4 pathologies, 4 diseases. So you have pulmonary embolism, spinal cord injury, bone tumor, cholelithiasis, and they will ask you, say, what is the modality for diagnosing these conditions? So there are 6 options. You have to pick the right one for each of them. So there's an extra option is around you. There may not be a match. So they may have 4, they may have 6, they may have 8. So in this condition, we have pulmonary embolism. For that, we will use the CT pulmonary angiography, also called CT-PA. Then for spinal cord injury, MR. Then for bone tumors, for diagnosis of bone tumors, all you need is usually just an X-ray. So you will have to be marking it like, say, one is pulmonary embolism. In front of it, you might have this kind of 6 check boxes or 6 dots, and then it will be A, B, C, D, E, F. Again, important for the preparation of this is go and read the tables that are given. They may pick up tables from textbooks which are already there, simple ones. Next here we have the type 4, which is the sequential arrangement. So a list of items will be given and it is negative is -1. So this is something you need to be very careful about. So it is something like, say, you can be given an option of what are the steps of taking a blood sample or steps of doing a lumbar puncture. We've already seen such kind of questions. You will have 4 or 5 options and you have to place it in the right order. Since again in this there is only 1 +1 and 1 -1, each step might not be counted as separate. So if there are 5 statements, say collect, take consent, prepare the needle syringes, go clean the site, take sample, put it in the sample bottle and send it with the correct form. They may be jumbled and then you will have different sequences as options and you have to pick one. But the thing is, you have to be very sure that you're ruling out in the correct manner because the negative is -1. So it is an easier question, but if it's an easier question, they give you a higher penalty for going wrong. So you have a +1 and a -1. So again, arrange the following in increasing amount of radiation dose. So these are the option A, B, C, D. These are CT abdomen, MRI brain, PET, CT, X-ray chest. Basic problem thing is that you must make sure that there's word you read. Is it the increasing order? Is it the decreasing order? And I'm pretty sure they'll give you both the options, but this is something that you must read. Next is the multiple completion type. There will be 4 statements. Again, 1 of which should be correct, 2 of which could be correct, 3 of which could be correct, all of them could be correct. And the answers given would also be like this, both A, B correct, B, C correct, C, D correct. We have had these questions. This is again not a new question. If you go back and look at our previous year, you will find 2 or 3 such questions in the exams. So this is again a type of PGI question where we have to mark a single answer. You get a +1 for the complete answer and then you get a -1 as negatives. So you have a low negative percentage. So I think you should go for such questions. Also, it is easier because if you know 1 or 2 options very well, you can eliminate those options. If you know that C is wrong, so this is eliminated, this is eliminated, and this is eliminated, you get this correct. So there are chances of using elimination in this question. Negative is less. You should try and go for these questions. This is an example. So which of these does not use ionizing radiation? The options are ultrasound, colonoscopy, CT, MRI. So it is not radiological. There is no radiation here. And you are pretty sure that CT uses radiation. So CT and is an ionizing type of radiation. So you have ruled out that C is definitely wrong. It cannot be does not. So you have to make sure again in this question you use it does not use. So C is out. So whichever option has C is out. Now you're left with A and ABD. So even if now you have 50% chance of knowing, if you can take a good guess. You know that MR and ultrasound look, and have you heard that they are safer? You are using them in pregnancy, in fetal imaging. So they usually would not have ionizing radiation. So the answer here would be 4. Now next you go to the reason assertion type of questions. This is a question that used to come in our PMT. We thought that it's all over. We never will have to face it again. But AIIMS exam again and AIIMS PG this time, and the same questions have come up. Not a very difficult question. Also, they have given you an incentive to attempt these questions. 25% negative only. So you go for them if you have idea about both these statements. The only problem usually people face is whether the answer is A or B. We'll talk about what is A and B in this question. So deal both of these statements as separate initially. Don't make up your mind initially that they are connected and you have to bring a connection in between. Just read those two statements separately and decide first whether they are correct or they are wrong. So first is you have to rule out whether it is A, B will have both statements correct. So if it's both statements correct, it's A or B. If there's any one of them is wrong, you get a C or a D. And if both are wrong, you get an E as an answer. So this is pretty simple. As soon as you make out whether these two statements are true or false, once you've made up your mind on this and you're sure about it, I think you should definitely go for this question. Even if you're not sure regarding whether it is the correct reason or not, you still should go for this question because you have made a major division. You are now just left with two options. So try and go for this question because there is only 25% negative. So I don't think, intuitively thinking, you will get it wrong more often than not. So even if you get 2 correct and 2 wrong, it still goes a long way in improving your score. So I have a small trick for when to use A and B. So it's something that would work 90% of the time, but there is a very simple trick to use in reason assertion once you know that both statements are correct. So see the options, we'll first discuss what are the options here. A is both reason assertion correct with correct explanation. Both assertion reason correct, but not the correct explanation of the assertion. Assertion correct, reason wrong. Reason is correct, assertion is false. Both are false. So this is the first differential you have to make, whether it's A or B, whether it's C, D or E. Now once you've come to the conclusion that both these statements are correct, so we have an option, we have the example here. Gadolinium is used as a contrast agent in MRI scan. We all know that. Gadolinium is the most common and usually the only one we talk about. The reason that is given at it is a paramagnetic substance. So we know that gadolinium is a paramagnetic substance. This is also true. Now comes whether it has to be the reason for the same or not. So now I have two words that you have to apply: and, because. So you have to use and or because between these two statements. So gadolinium is used as contrast agent in MRI scans and it is a paramagnetic substance. That does not suit too well. Gadolinium is used as contrast agent in MRI scan because it is a paramagnetic substance. This is the reason why gadolinium can be used in MRI scans as a contrast agent. So if you can fit in a because, then the answer is A. If you are unable to fit in a because and it just goes with an and, then the answer is B. This is just a simple trick. When you are having problems to fix it yourself, just try to put in this through. If you can fit a because between the two, it is A. If you cannot fit and only and is going, or both statements are correct, then you go for B as the answer. Final question is extended matching. The biggest problem is they have even said that they would have 2 or 3 case scenarios. This is a case scenario based thing, will require intellect, will require going through the situation in your mind, a lot more knowledge. You'll have to rule out a lot of things. So in this, what they've said that they'll give you a basic theme. There will be a topic that will be decided. You will have few options, 7 or 8 options, 5, 6, 7, 8, a group of options. And then they will have certain cases or clinical vignettes in which they will give you a scenario and you have to fit in that option. So they may have just 1 clinical scenario, they may have 2, they may have 3. But the problem is, as the number of scenarios increase, this is not increasing. For each clinical or the first topic that they give, as a theme that they give, they have said that it will be +1. And if they have say 2 questions, each would become half each. If they have 3, it becomes 1/3 or 1/3. Now the time for each question, if you read all the statements, if you read a long clinical scenario, if you read the 3 or 4 statements, it will take a lot of time. Then you have to further go back, or what was the theme, what were the options, go through it. So this question, if it has at least 2 clinical scenarios, does demand 2 to 3 minutes, and there is no extra reward for doing this question. It is only in your mind. It just gives you a better feeling that I could solve this question, but nobody will give you extra marks for that. This is what our distraction is. This is the distraction in this exam. I am not saying do not attempt this question. Do not get distracted by these questions. Do not waste 3 or 4 questions because you are trying to attempt this. People think that 200 questions are easy to attempt. You are doing NEET में 300 question कर रहे हैं. So it's not a big problem here. This is something why I am really focusing here is because in my exam in 2015 November, I had 2 problems. One, I could not finish 200 questions. There were 2 reasons. Perhaps I was slow. I left too many questions for review. And I tried to solve the questions which perhaps were difficult but would not give me any benefit. I kept thinking, how I am not able to solve it. I have to solve this biostats ka numerical. I have to solve the big 3-4 liner question. This is a good clinical vignette. I have to solve it. So you should not go behind those, and do not put anything for review in AIIMS exam. Those questions will not be taken up. At the end, if you had an initial hunch and you had marked something, you are going to anyway mark it after review. So keep that marked, take a paper or take your admit card and just note the questions on the paper that you want to review, so that you don't have a problem finding them, but you don't leave them unmarked or only for review and lose them at the end. I finished the paper with 187 questions marked, though I had seen 200 and I don't think I wanted to leave more than 2 or 3. So losing 10 questions at review can be a big loss. Say if you finish your exam in 2 hours 15 minutes, you give your review. At that time, you can think that you can spend time on this, 3 minutes each. Even if it's 5 questions, you still finish at 2:30 and have time to review. But do not try to attempt it in the meantime, because you will lose time on 3 or 4 questions. You will try to hurry up because you will feel there are 3-4 questions, but what you will remember is that there is only +1 for each theme. So if you have to see a question, theme and focus, say pain abdomen, you have answer option list, you have infective cause, blunt trauma, ectopic pregnancy, appendicitis, Crohn's disease, mesenteric ischemia. So don't try to read this, because anyways you will have to still go back, read those statements. First go to this. You've seen pain abdomen, you see that there are causes of pain abdomen. I'll start by reading the first case. This is just these small statements. Often they might be very long. If they are kind of these, you can still go through them fast. If there are 5 or 6 lines, do not try reading them at all initially. Just wait for the entire exam to finish. Then you attempt these 4 or 5 questions, because you don't want to leave 10-15 questions trying to solve these 5 questions. So 40-year-old male presents with episodes of abdominal pain which is aggravated after meal. So postprandial pain in a middle-aged male. Out of these, I think the only answer is mesenteric ischemia. Second is a type of ulceroconstrictive disease which presents with pain abdomen and altered bowel habits. We know Crohn's disease and UC. Blunt trauma would not be like that. Ectopic pregnancy, appendicitis, pseudomembrane colitis would not be like that. A woman with 8 weeks amenorrhea presents with an empty uterine cavity and adnexal mass with ring of fire sign. Clearly, we are dealing with ectopic pregnancy. So each time you have to just pick the right answer. Some might be easy, some might be a little tough. So at least solve what you can, because the negative is again not too much. So answering it finally would not be that difficult, but what is the cost of answering these questions is what you have to keep in mind. This is just an initial time. There are 4 or 5 questions that are going to be like these, and most of them you will be able to solve with what knowledge you have gained till now. So do not panic. I have to now start using USMLE papers. I have to find clinical vignettes, or I will do them on online platforms where they will have these 5 or 10 lines. You cannot really build that kind of speed now. You will waste too much time trying to do that. Important, do not forget something that usually comes previously. You suddenly forget when something new is added, that images are still going to come. The single best answers are still there. These clinical vignettes are still there. Images are still going to come. You have to go through your old images. I still feel that they will still form the major chunk. Images, especially in 2 or 3 videos, or even audio sounds like murmurs might come. 50-60 questions might still have images in it, and these are just 4-5 question additions, and that too which have already, most of the patterns have already been asked somewhere or the other. So do not go gaga over it. I still feel it is just an initial distraction. It's just adding glamour to the AIIMS exam over NEET. Try to use your common sense when you go into the exam. The final verdict, single best answer still most important. Then match the following only requires go through the tables of the important topics. Then the PGI papers, you can do 2 or 3 papers prior to the AIIMS exam this time instead of just going to them afterwards. Use your common sense. Reason-assertion, remember reading both of them separately. Do apply the and or because rule if you are in a hurry, because that is the simplest way of doing it. Otherwise, it all depends on the mindset of the examiner. Do not waste time on the big clinical vignettes. It is not enough. The reward is just not enough. And the sequential pattern question, negative is -1. So even though they are simple, try to rule things out, but do not go for it if you have less than 50% surety at least. Just do not go for those questions. They are a trap for the negatives. And I wish all of you the very best. Do not feel overwhelmed by this new pattern. Just go and do what you were supposed to do earlier and things will be fine. Thank you.
And I hope you benefited from that advice, and your exam is coming up soon, so wish you all the best for that. And thank you so much for watching right till the end, and press that subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it, and give us a thumbs up if you like our work. And happy watching.